And if you can imagine, there are rocks on the side, right? So if I drive over, I'm gonna be hurt really bad and I'm gonna be out of here. Right. And so as I'm literally going down the hill, I start to tip my car. So one wheel off of this edge. And then if you can picture this with me, you know, when we're talking to somebody on the phone in the car, so if somebody calls you and your phone is hooked up to Bluetooth, it's gonna ring through the car.
Right.
So my wife calls me.
Tell me what you're waiting for, the best is all for you. I gotta pray some more since I come home to you. I had to line it up, and they say we should shine it up, but that's just how his timing was, and look at what we do. They cannot tell me nothing, baby, the way you walk, I love it. And if you take too long, I'm rushing. I come the way you are, just trust it. Then we gon' love forever, and we gon' ride this thing together. I got my mind on you whenever. I keep my eyes on you forever. Man, we got the kind of love that says for work.
And no, you work hard to get to this moment, but it wasn't until I actually got through therapy and it was later on that I realized, like, you know, that God has a purpose for me. Yeah.
So let's pivot, and you know, I definitely want to link, you know, the Players Tribune article you wrote in 2020.
Oh yeah.
Which is so amazing, but not gonna ask you to read it verbatim, but certainly want to tell that story. So you were in Philadelphia. You got released. Was it year 2, year 3?
I got released year 3. Okay. Oh no, after I was going into year 4.
Okay, you got released, and then Seattle signed you.
Yep.
So how'd you end up Seattle? Pete Carroll's Legion of Boom.
Man, I'm
Plan Us in Time.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson. Is that Russell Wilson?
Yeah. Still Russell Wilson. Okay. So if I could paint the picture, if you've been listening to the story, right?
Yeah.
Remember I told you about my defensive line coach in college who gave me the words of wisdom.
Okay.
I get to the Eagles and it's not the same, right? I don't have those same coaches, right? It's only about performance. If you're not performing, we don't care about you. You got to get going, right? So the basic way that I can explain it, if you're looking at an NFL player, right, who has money invested with the organization, right, you only have a certain amount of time for them to receive the money that they spent on their investment, right? So at the time, I wasn't doing really well. So they wasn't seeing a return with me.
Yeah.
So I played my 3rd year. We go into my 4th year. They end up trying to trade me. They wanted to trade me, but they needed me to take a pay cut in order for them to trade me.
To work. Okay.
Right. And so what I told them, I'm like, no, I'm not.
Right.
I ain't taking no pay cut.
Right.
I would rather you cut me.
Right.
Then I can go where I want to go instead of you trading me to somewhere.
You have no control.
I have no control.
Yeah.
Right.
And you took less money to do it.
And I took less money to do it. right.
Yeah.
So, well, you understand.
I got it.
You know
I
what
think
mean?
most people would understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, my college coach happened to be in Seattle, right? The guy who taught me everything I know about outside linebacker, defensive line. So in my mind, I'm going there. Even with the Legion of Boom, even with all of the starters. Right? They had Mike Bennett, Cliff Averill, Bobby Wagner, Sherm, you know what I mean?
That was a defense.
Earl Thomas.
Yeah, that was a defense.
Right?
Man.
Frank Clark.
Yeah.
Jaron Reed. Like, they had all these guys, but I felt led to go there because God knew what was going to happen next. He knew that I needed to be in a comfortable place in order for me to still be here today. Right? Because if I was with the Eagles or if I was anywhere else, you know, I might not have been here, but he led me there, right? End up signing with them, had to go through camp, end up making the team my 4th year, right? I tried to quit that year too because my anxiety and my depression
so you
was
thought about
so high.
You thought about walking away from the game. Okay.
I was going to walk away my 4th year, right? But I ended up talking myself into staying, end up having an okay year. And then the following year with my defensive line coach, I signed a $2.7 million deal, 1-year deal with the Seattle Seahawks.
This is year 5 in the league.
This is year 5.
Okay.
And they say to me, this is like a prove a year, right?
Okay.
So you do well.
1 year deal.
And we'll extend you, or you extend your career regardless, because once you put your play on film, once people see it, somebody will pay you, and you can continue your career. But again, I had not yet addressed all of the issues from when I was 8. So now my baggage has went from 8 to 14 to anxiety attacks in my sleep in college, right? To getting to the pros, not playing well, having family on my back, having the coaches, fans, everything. So now I'm in Seattle where my career is actually going in the right direction, but I still have yet to address this baggage that I haven't let loose yet. Yeah. And I was still having anxiety attacks in my sleep at the time.
Okay.
It was normal at this point.
Right.
I'm married, right? My wife is now there.
Okay.
Now she's like worried.
Right.
Like, you having these way too much.
Yeah.
She's a nurse, and she starts telling me, like, I think you're having anxiety. You all right? And so through those moments, I kind of was listening to her, but then I kind of wasn't. I wasn't really telling her the whole truth, because as a man,
I'm fine.
I'm
fine.
We're good. We're gonna find ourselves into a deep depression.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was telling her, like, I'm good. Like, we don't even worry about it. But then she was pregnant at the time.
With your first.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking, like, nah, like,
now's the time.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want you to be stressed
about me. The last
or anything.
Yeah, been there.
But it got to the point where it was too much.
Yeah.
And so I was a vegetable. I wasn't eating or sleeping. I was just out there in practice, running on fumes. I couldn't really finish the practice, cramping up. I had bags under my eyes. Coaches and the players started asking me, "Are you good? You all right?" And I just got tired of it. And it was more so pain for me. It wasn't more so about the act of what I wanted to do to myself, but it was more so just getting rid of the pain, right?
Yeah.
And yes, God was still active in my life, obviously, but he wasn't active enough for me to think and be like, you know what? I need to go pray about this and then find a therapist.
Right, and get help.
Right,
yeah.
and get help.
Yeah.
Because that's not something that I've seen my father do. We don't do that.
Right.
We figure it out and just hope things go well, right?
Or suck it up and muscle on.
Man,
right?
Muscle it
through.
Put
one foot in front of the other.
And that's what I was thinking about. I was like, man, you know what? But it was just getting harder and harder as I got older. And you as we talked about before, you can't do some of the things as you're older when you were younger.
Right.
You can't do that. So what happened was year 5, August, I want to say it was like August 15th or 16th or something like that.
What's up, friends? What's up, family? Thanks for watching and listening to the Progress Podcast. We really appreciate how you've been a part of this journey so far. It's been a quick few months that we're here, and we're really excited to continue going forward in this journey. We really would appreciate having your support via a donation. Check out the links in the description to consider making a donation. Your contribution allows us to continue to bring this content to you at the highest quality and to continue to secure the best guests, to continue to sow into you and to continue this journey going forward. So check out the links in the description. Thanks for being a part of this. We're really excited for all the things to come as we make progress.
Can't remember the actual date. I know my wife's birthday was coming up.
Yeah.
I woke up one morning, I couldn't sleep, had an anxiety attack. And anybody who has anxiety who understands, sometimes it feels like your chest is caving in. I was sleeping on my chest. It just felt like my chest was caving in. It felt like I was having a heart attack, but I wasn't, right? So my wife is laying there next to me. I get in my car let me go back. My wife is laying there next to me. I get up and then I get in my car and start to drive. So I'm going to the facility early. I really didn't say bye to her or anything like that. In my mind, I'm just like, I'm tired of this, right? And so as I'm driving to the facility, I'm taking a scenic route and I'm driving down this hill. And if you can imagine, there are rocks on the side, right? So if I drive over, I'm going to be hurt really bad and I'm going to be out of here. Right. And so as I'm literally going down the hill, I start to tip my car. So one wheel off of this edge. And then if you can picture this with me, you know, when we're talking to somebody on the phone in the car. So if somebody calls you and your phone is hooked up to Bluetooth, it's going to ring through the car.
Right.
So my wife calls me and I
in the moment,
and I jerked the car back out of frustration, and I was startled because of how loud the sound, the ring was.
Wow.
And so going back to why God put her in my life, right? She called me because, I mean, we talked before I go to the facility anyway. So she talked to me on the phone. She's like, you all right? You when you left, you know.
Right.
She knew something was off.
Yeah.
Right? She could feel it.
Yeah.
And I'm rushing her to get off the phone because I'm still in my mind. I'm like, bro, I'm just tired of this, right? I just want to hurt myself. Like, leave me alone. And I finally get off the phone with her, and I start to do it again. Then my mother-in-law calls me. So now, by the time my mother-in-law calls me and we having a conversation, I'm at the bottom of the hill. So now the rock's nothing. Like, I'm at the bottom of the hill and I'm safe. And that's when I realized, like, what did I just try to do? What am I doing? And I remember telling her on the phone, I'm done. I can't do this no more. Like, if football is, because I would always blame it on football at the time. I'm like, if football is causing me to try to end my life, to try to commit suicide, then I don't want it.
Right.
Because that's when I can really think, because I wasn't in the act.
Yeah.
I was safe.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that can harm me at the time that was around me. And that's when I realized, like, and it was the first time I asked for help. First time. And I walked in that facility, and because I was there, Pete Carroll and my coach, some of the greatest human beings ever. I don't know if me being on another organization, they would have took it as well.
Right.
Right. Seattle is a place of very family-oriented type place, right? Pete Carroll is a father figure, right? So that's the type of coaches he has around him, right? He's a player's coach. So when I came in there and I said, I can't do this. I just tried to, you know, end my life, and I was crying. I was talking to him, and they was like, we're going to get you the help. And they sent me to a therapist, and what really changed the trajectory of how I viewed everything was when they called my wife, and she comes in and she's just bawling. She's crying.
So she came to the facility?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she couldn't believe herself, because in her mind, she's thinking, like, what could she have done?
Right.
Right. But I was telling her, like, I wasn't being all the way honest either. Yeah. And she wanted to be there, but also didn't want to push too much. Right. Yeah. So that's a kind of tough place to be in.
Now, I want to pause right. There's so much we could go into on this.
Yeah.
And I'm getting chills here listening to your story, and praise God.
Yeah, man.
Where do I want to start? What, looking backwards in your marriage, right? And my wife and I have been doing this. We do this on this space, and we'll probably do more of it in this space, right? What could have you done, or you and your wife done differently to foster more intimacy and more transparency and vulnerability in your marriage? Because obviously there was just enough for your wife to know something was off. But it sounds like in hindsight, you would both agree there could have been more, but maybe she could have helped you get help earlier. What could you have done as a young married couple? Because that's where we're my wife and I are marriage coaches, and we're trying to work with couples that would be, in that 20-something age demographic of newlyweds and have different pressures of life, right?
Yeah.
In your case, you had NFL pressure, but most people paying the bills, about to become a dad, right? What do you think you guys could have done differently to foster a different level of intimacy that might have prevented it from getting that close to you ending your life?
I think, us as people, we get so caught up in the day-to-day and what's going on. You know what I mean? And what we could have done even the more was be vulnerable with each other, right? Even more. Like, I think me having a child, right, and her being pregnant at the time was kind of a barrier of my thought process, because I didn't want her to have to stress or it to hinder, the baby in any way. Because I felt like we talked a lot, and I felt like I was, a little bit vulnerable with her. But I think what I could have done better was just cry out to her.
Yeah.
And say, this is what I'm dealing with.
Right.
I need help. Yeah. And I think as a man, until we have to be vulnerable with our wives.
Yeah.
Right.
That takes courage.
Yeah. Because they can definitely,
it's taking courage for me.
They can read us. They kind of know what's going on.
Yeah, but they don't know everything.
But they're not
in our heads.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not in our heads. Yeah. And we have to express that to them.
Right.
Right. And so I learned in therapy the emotional intelligence that you have to be able to speak that to them, right? It starts with you being vulnerable. Yeah. Just open, like, it don't matter how it come out.
Yeah.
Right? And I think a lot of men as well, when we look at just, being vulnerable, they don't want being vulnerable being used against them. Yeah. Right. And
true. Right. Weaponized.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's just naturally a
or
thought.
Being shamed or diminished or are you crazy or what are you talking about? Right. Yeah.
And if you play sports, if you're a man that plays sports, it don't matter how far you got with sports. That's just the culture of what you've been brought up in. So you talking about your feelings.
Right.
You're
a world-class athlete. Let's be real. You're playing in the NFL. You're a world-class athlete. Exactly. So people look at you like, what do you mean you're feeling down? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're at the peak of your physical ability. Right. And I also would challenge you, it does matter how it comes out, right? Because it's going to come out some way. Right. You said it doesn't matter how, I know what you mean, but I just want to correct that.
Right. No, you're good.
It matters that it comes out, that you vocalize that. It's going to come out whether, promiscuity, alcohol, you name it, right? Yep. Or suicidal ideation. Yes. Anxiety, can't sleep, can't eat right. It's going to come out. Yeah. But we give words to it. Those words have power, and then we can get people know how to help us. Yeah. Yeah.
You just got to know. Yeah. A lot of times we don't know what it is.
We don't even know that's the thing. Sometimes I'll talk about myself. I have to tell my wife, I'm not sure why I do this or why I feel this way, but I know that I do. Yeah. And she's been able to reflect back to me. Oh, you know what I think? You said the other day or last week or last year that X, Y, and Z, and therefore, together we figure stuff out. Yeah. Just because I've had the courage to talk. And that's so powerful, but it has been scary. But I'm almost 10 years in to my marriage. It's taking time to learn that, this is what you're supposed to do. Man. Thank you. How long have you been married?
We on year 7.
Okay, all right.
So
I'll be 10 coming up. Yeah. Yet, but I think I'm gonna make it. I think I'm gonna make it. So but it's been part of the journey, and and this is why we say to people, get a coach, get a therapist, do marriage counseling, do marital coaching, because having that example, like again, both of our parents were divorced. I know I didn't have that example of, especially as a man, being vulnerable with the spouse. I didn't, didn't see it. So learning how to do that. I mean, I know that was for me. That was something I've had to learn and still learning. Yeah,
I've had to learn that being vulnerable is not easy. Yeah. I think masking is the easy thing. Yeah, just not talking about it. Like me and my wife, we did premarital counseling. Okay, but it wasn't. Mental health wasn't the topic.
Got you. Okay,
right? Of discussion. Right. You know what I mean? Of I'm gonna be going through this, or I'm gonna be dealing with this, right? Or I think it should be a topic.
No, that's something for me to think about, and me and Steve to think about.
At least help understand, right? Or bringing the feelings wheel up. Like think about the feelings wheel, man. You look at that, you be like, dang. Like, I don't know any of these emotions.
I don't know what these words mean. I have to Google a couple of them. What exactly is that? Right. What does it mean? Yeah.
Can you articulate your mood and what you're feeling at that specific time? And I think what I try to do now is not have an argument in my head.
There you go.
And just be like, hey, this is what I'm feeling.
Yeah, I tell my wife we're in the marketplace doing stuff as we speak. And I'm like, let's not negotiate with ourselves. And I advise other people I coach in business, don't negotiate with yourself. And that goes well in business, but also in your life. Don't negotiate with yourself. If I tell her this, she gonna do this. Yeah. And you start having the shame thing. Oh, I ain't gonna bring that up. I can get through the day. Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's powerful. The second question I wanted to ask, what prompted your mother-in-law to call you? Did your wife call her, or did she was just checking on you? I thought about my son.
I think she was just calling at the time.
That's like a Holy Spirit.
That is thing. God.
That's God. Right.
Nobody but God. God gave me 2 chances. Right. And he's always had protective covering around me. And I think in that moment, she was just calling. I'm not sure why she was calling.
Okay.
We were just having a conversation.
Yeah.
And then I ended up telling her, I'm ready to be done.
Right.
Right. Because she was a spiritual leader at the time for me.
Okay.
So I was talking to her. It wasn't, I wouldn't say every day, but just that day, she called me.
Yeah.
And if she hadn't been in my life, I wouldn't have got that call.
Right.
Right. Because it wasn't like I was talking to people in my family, like my mother, me and my mom and my dad were talking, but I didn't have like people who could really, really understand what I was going through. And that's why I didn't really talk about it as much, because I really felt like people didn't care. Even when I decided to walk away, one great thing that the Seahawks did was they said, hey, what we're going to do, we're going to release you, right? And releasing me allowed me to keep the money that they invested in me.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so if I would have retired, I would have been put on the retired exempt list.
Right.
And I would have to give money back. Right? Because now I'm, foregoing my duties to this contract.
Right.
Yeah. But they allowed me to keep my money and allowed me to go get the help that I needed. And so I was able to go home. I left Seattle. I was able to go home. I was able to continue to do therapy, and I was able to see my daughter born.
Where was home at that point? Georgia or Philadelphia?
Maryland.
Okay.
So I bought a house in Maryland in 2017, Waldorf, and then we just recently moved 2 years ago.
Now, how'd you end up picking? So you're from Georgia, went to Louisville, ended up in Philadelphia. Your wife was at Penn, where you met her.
Yeah,
and then
she's from
Seattle.
PG County.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay.
So I forgot to mention that.
Shout out to my PG County queens. I married one too, so we can relate. We can relate on that. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Got it. Got the whole picture now.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah, she's from PG.
Okay, so you're right. So but you did tell me that. So back here in Maryland.
Yeah. She so I used to come here all the time to visit her.
Sure.
From Philly.
Got it. Yeah.
And so I kind of fell in love with the DMV.
Yeah.
I felt like it had its own.
My grandfather was
vibe.
from Westchester, and then so there's always Baltimore, Maryland, Philly connection strong. Yeah. Strong. Yeah.
It was dope. That's why I felt like, I decided to reside here.
Okay.
I didn't honestly, truthfully speaking, I think, I chose Maryland. Obviously my wife is from here and I like the area, but also I didn't want to be, in reach, if you will. Like I didn't want people to be able to
get you so easy.
Yeah. I wanted some distance.
I hear you. Yeah, it's healthy.
You know what I mean?
It's healthy.
Because when I did live in Atlanta, people used to pull up on me all the time.
Okay.
Unannounced.
Got you. Right.
You know what I mean? So for my mental well-being, I needed that space, and I need to be able to, with certain people, serve with a long-handed spoon and create that boundaries in which
and
I'm
you're a dad
that
now.
therapy. Yeah,
you're a dad, right? You're a dad.
I'm a father.
You're
Yeah,
a father at that point.
Yeah.
So Seattle, man, first class is great. As a fan of the Commanders, it sounds like we have first class ownership now. It's great to hear when they take care of people,
man,
first.
Yep.
And to your well-being first. And it's multi-billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar business. So I'm glad they were able to do that for you. So came back here, you were getting the help that you needed.
Yep.
How did that turnaround look? Obviously, you ended up playing for the Washington football team. Well, so how did that? And then your career ended pretty quickly. It seemed like after that.
So what happened was I came back, PG County. I was in Charles County. Got the help that I needed. I was doing therapy every week, and then I wanted to finish what I started. Right, because I felt like there was a page that wasn't closed, right? So I walked away from the game, right, at the time, and the Commanders, which were the Redskins at the time, I called my agent, and I said, hey, I'm about to start back training. I want to finish the year out.
Okay.
Right, so he started calling teams, and that year, I think the Redskins, they started off 6-0. They had Alex Smith, but then after that, everybody started getting hurt.
That when Alex Smith had the bad leg
it was
break.
like 22.
I was at that game, by the way, and saw it. I was not close to see how bad it was.
The Redskins that year, they had like 22 people on IR.
Yeah.
Right, and so they needed linebackers.
Needed bodies,
Right, and so November comes around, I'm training. I went to New York first, did a tryout there, went to Indianapolis. Everybody asked about what was going on with me as far as the mental health. my agent was telling me to lie to him, because at the time, mental health wasn't,
the stigma.
They're like, oh, what's wrong with this guy? Is he going to be mentally prepared?
Right, he's going to be ready.
Right.
Or he's going to be a problem.
And the Redskins took that chance.
Okay.
They took that chance on me, and I was able to finish out that year.
Okay.
And after that, I think I played with them one more year, and I literally, that's where before that, when we talk about the Circle of M,
I want to get the Circle of M.
Yeah, how that came about was when I walked away from Seattle. Like my teammates in the locker room, not gonna say any names, but a lot of them started to express to me some of the same issues that they were going through, and they were just muscling through, and they were just getting through, and they were just telling me how much courage it took. Like he was like, man, it takes a lot for you to do that, right? And so that's how the Circle of M was birthed, because I understood the athletes, teammates, they're going through the same thing, and if just me being vulnerable, walking away, helped them speak to me, then how many other athletes are dealing with this and they're not talking at all?
Leaders go first.
Exactly.
And so I'll thank you for going first. Tell me about when we saw on the website, me and Celia like, yo, that's a dope logo. Tell me about the vision. I mean, it's kind of obvious, kind of speaks for itself, but I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah,
the vision, overall Circle of M, the vision for that and what you're doing.
Yeah, so the vision for the Circle of M, it started obviously, I was talking about before, the locker room, right? Just an athlete in general. And our mission.
From the locker room to the living room.
Right.
Yeah, I love it. And we're in the living room today, so love it.
And our mission is to unmask the feelings that cause anxiety and depression. So when you look at the logo, right, it's a half face, which is my face, and a half helmet, right? And because a lot of times as football players, we don't know who we are outside of the helmet. So this is me constantly trying to find myself. Who is Marcus Smith outside of the helmet? And if you look at just an average everyday person, right, what are we masking? Who are we? Are you going to be able to redefine who you really are? Because through therapy, I was able to redefine who the real Marcus Smith was. And a lot of times, men, we mask everything. And so why I say the feelings that cause anxiety, depression, because that's where it starts. We like to pull back the layers. Like, what is causing anxiety? Can we get you to the right person? So I like to see myself as a mental health advocate, life coach that sits as a bridge. Yeah. Right? I'm not a clinician. Right. Right.
Likewise, right.
Yeah. But I can hold the space for you to be able to get the help that you need, for you to be able to walk across and get the healing that you desire. And so that's kind of where we started off. So we started off, I'm going everywhere, I'm speaking, I'm telling my story. It was all about awareness, really just bringing the athlete, bringing people to understand that mental health is real and that I was able to overcome it. And if you're going through it, you can overcome it too. Yeah. And so I was going across, I'm still doing that actually. And then after that, I realized like, okay, we're doing a lot of awareness. Now we have to create solutions. So how am I creating solutions not only with professional athletes, but with the younger generation as well? So then I started mentorship, right? And I opened the gym where we do mental health. We just talk. We do like round table, and then they can go in the gym and train and be with other trainers just to get their mind off of what they actually just learned. Right. And then I partner with other companies. Like I partner with Refine Recovery, which is in Beverly Hills, and All Points North, which is in Colorado. And these are treatment facilities that insurance, like as long as you have insurance, if you need to go there for 30 days, if you need to go step away, if you have a substance abuse, if you have an issue, you can go get help.
That's beautiful.
Right? And I stand in the front of that to get the people the help. You know what I mean? So that's where we are right now. And we continue to just try to grow and be a leading force in the space for people to get help.
I know you said earlier, before we sat down, your church is also affiliated with what you do. So it sounds like you got mind, body, and soul covered. Yeah. Right? The whole human.
Because people think that you can't have both. Like you can't have prayer and a therapist. Yeah. Right? But God puts people in your life. Yeah. Like you pray to have deliverance. So you pray for that anxiety. You don't want to have that anxiety or the depression, right? But faith without works is dead, right? So God puts these certain people in your life to help you get across or to help you heal in a way that's beneficial for your life. That's what I truly believe.
And we got to talk.
Yeah.
We got to be in community. We can get forgiven and we can get the miracle from God. But I think to sustain the healing,
you speaking, man.
To sustain the miracle that God's done, we got to talk about it. We got to be in community and we got to help other people.
Right.
And I know sometimes people, say, oh, you want to be a coach versus a counselor. I say, well, if I'm at least one exit ahead, I can coach somebody. I have something that I can lend to somebody else who's behind me, who's been married 5 years or who's engaged, right? Because I got 10. I might not be able to tell somebody who's been married 20 years about that, but I can tell you a little bit about what those first 10 years might look like. And we need each other. We need to be in community. We need to disciple each other.
You're right about that.
And you're doing it so beautifully.
Yeah,
and we need to have these conversations.
That.
Exactly. Yeah. I've seen it. I've seen it. I want tell people's stories that aren't here, but I've seen it. Again, being around athletes my whole life. Yeah. And also just the pressure that can come being in a business owner. Yeah. I've seen that. I've lived that. Which can sometimes be a similar pressure. And so as men, there's just we have a certain weight, a certain mantle that we're called to. Yeah. But we're also called to be husbands and fathers first. Yeah. And definitely wanted to, bring back Genesis 2:4, to be, the Bible says that Adam and Eve were naked and unashamed. And how can we get back to that place in the garden with our wives and be naked and unashamed about our mental health, about where we are in our mind, our body, and our soul, so that we can,
that's real.
Our spouses can have that level of intimacy to be able to get us help that we need.
Man,
and
speaking.
Like you said, like I was saying about my wife, when she had to overcome her sobriety, we had to have the same moment where she had to be able to be naked and unafraid with me and say, and admit, I had to do an intervention, and she had to admit that she needed help. And so there's just so much here that's rich, man. Just so proud of what you're doing. I know you've been on CNN.
Yeah.
Being an expert and, so, want to end, wrap a little bit on a little bit of a higher note. I know you've written a book.
Yeah.
I know we have it here.
Yeah.
And tell us about that, about the bath time with baby Rye.
Yeah. I mean, so I wrote that in the midst of COVID, obviously.
Okay.
We was still dealing with mental health issues then.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, I think everybody was thinking one way or another, and that's how a lot of these issues have gotten surfaced in that time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think just in that time frame, I was spending a lot of time with my kids, spending a lot of time with her, bathing her, and spending that quality time with her at bath time. I'm like, you know what? A lot of fathers are trying to figure out their place right now, right? Because being in COVID, right? You at home, right? And I think especially being an NFL football player, when you are now at home, you're trying to insert yourself into your family again, trying to figure out where you fit,
right?
And I think that was my whole goal, was to help men figure out where they fit in their daughter's life. And that's the time where they can really spend with them, right?
Bath
Even
time.
if they're gone, it's bath time and really reading to them and just really taking that time out to, be affectionate in that way and show a different side. So that's why I wrote the book, because I wanted them to see, that, fathers can be soft too, you know what I'm saying? But in a book, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I wrote it.
Love it. Yeah. Find it Amazon. We got ours.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, you can find it on Amazon. Yeah. You can find it on Barnes and Noble too.
Okay.
It's on there. Man, it's an amazing thing when you produce something, you write it, and then it comes out, and you just love that you can help other fathers.
How has being a dad, so married 7 years, how has being a dad shaped you in this transition from football to this season of life and being that mental health advocate? How has that contributed to you becoming who you are and having the journey and going on the journey you're on?
It's taught me a lot, and it's actually taught me a lot of patience. I know a lot of parents say that, but it really teaches you that, and it forces me to work on myself as much as possible, right? So the generational curses that we're trying to break, right? We have to break them with our kids. So naturally, we do some of the stuff that our parents used to do, right? But we have to change that and change our mindset to help them understand their emotions. So my son, right, he's an emotional kid, right? And yelling at him, it's not going to help anything. But talking to him, having a conversation, pointing out what he's feeling is what's going to help him have that emotional intelligence as he grow. And that's how I learn and how I grow. So that's how it's made me become a father, because it teaches me the patience that I need. But then also it helps me become a better father when I know my kids in the way that I need to know them.
I know one of the things I've had to learn, especially being a girl dad, I have 2 daughters, is not to discipline out of anger. Now, I learned how to control they call it the big voice and I had to actually use it today. Before you got here.
It's different.
That's why I'm laughing.
When you put that deep voice.
I won't embarrass them and say what they were up to. That they were not supposed to be doing. But they both got in trouble. And, but I had to let them know. And I had to make them, so with my words and how I showed up, that what they were doing was unacceptable. Both of them. So,
you have to correct.
I was frustrated, but it was so when I say not in anger, I was annoyed. I probably was angry, but I had self-control. And that's the part of it, and learning how to communicate. Another thing is, certainly I'm sure you're learning they're both different. Like you said, your son is sensitive. I'm sure your daughter shows up in a different way. And you can't discipline them both the same. No, you
cannot. And that's it's the hard.
It's hard.
It's trying too. You know what I mean? Having you have 2 different personalities, right? But when you have a spouse and you guys are on the same page,
that's key.
That is super key.
Key, definitely. So that's beautiful, man. So tell me a little bit about Circle of M. Is it circleofm.com.org?
Yeah, so
is it for-profit, non-profit?
It's a non-profit. Okay. So we're the Circle of M Incorporated.
Okay.
But it's a non-profit organization. Right. So any money that is spent or any donations, it goes right back into.
So people can donate. Okay, we'll get all those links in the description. Perfect.
If you go on to circleofm.com and donate, we'll send you a form where you can write it off for your taxes or whatever it may be. Great. Instagram, MoneyMark91. The Circle of M is on Facebook and Instagram. So that's where you'll find us. You'll be able to see like all the stuff that we're doing, the people that we're partnering with too as well.
Now, before we started, you were going to tell me a cool Teddy Bridgewater story. That was your junior year or senior year quarterback, or both?
This was actually going into my sophomore year.
Sophomore year at Louisville, okay.
Yeah.
So
this is the story.
I've heard so many great things about Teddy B, as you called him.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing human.
Amazing human being. Yeah. Like his mother beat cancer. She beat breast cancer.
That rings a bell. I think I've heard that a little bit.
So you could just imagine like how strong he is,
right,
as a human being, right? Because he's come from like battles and battles and battles, being from Miami, Florida, going to Miami Northwestern. Now he's the head coach at Miami Northwestern, his high school. But funny story about Teddy. I played quarterback. Obviously, Teddy played quarterback. So Teddy was the number 2 recruit in the nation.
Okay.
Right?
Wow.
LSU decided to take Mark Zuckerberg or something like that. They took a quarterback, right? And so Teddy's teammates were already on our team. So he was still in high school. I'm still a quarterback at the time. But the coaches didn't tell me that they were going to recruit Teddy. Right. And so not realizing, like, they seen where I was more athletic at, right? Mm-hmm. They wouldn't have said like, hey, or they wouldn't have stopped me from staying at quarterback if I would have been like, I want to play quarterback. But I had no idea that Teddy was.
But you've been sitting and waiting.
I've been sitting and waiting.
On the sideline, like you were saying earlier.
Right. So obviously I wasn't as good.
Right.
As playing quarterback.
Sure.
So then Teddy comes in the spring.
Spring ball, okay.
And I've already moved.
Got you.
Right. So I'm already outside linebacker. Right. And he comes in, he's just slinging it around. And then he comes in, he's slinging it around, and I'm like, wow. And we both look at each other like, yeah, I'm happy I'm not a.
You made the right decision.
Yeah, I made the right decision.
You knew in that moment.
Yeah. So the funny story is he came right after. In that spring, he came to school early. Smart guy.
Yep.
He graduated 3 years. It only took him 3 years to graduate.
At Louisville. What's up, friends? What's up, family? Thanks for watching and listening to the Progress Podcast. We really appreciate how you've been a part of this journey so far. It's been a quick few months that we're here, and we're really excited to continue going forward in this journey. We really would appreciate having your support via a donation. Check out the links in the description to consider making a donation. Your contribution allows us to continue to bring this content to you at the highest quality and to continue to secure the best guests, to continue to sow into you and to continue this journey going forward. So check out the links in the description. Thanks for being a part of this. We're really excited for all the things to come as we make progress.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So very smart guy, and end up working out because he comes in and he comes and plays, and he's like the Heisman front runner at one point in time. We were like 9-0.
Yeah.
So it ended up working out. So yeah, that was a story about Teddy. He ended up coming, and I had just moved, and it just ended up being the right decision because he's an amazing quarterback. Yeah. And I would have never played.
Right.
I would have never played
at
all if I would have been at quarterback still.
Well, it was wisdom, good for coaches to be able to say, hey, you want to get out there, we could use you here, and we see that you could, have the athleticism to get there. So
I would say that too. Like if I could give, any nuggets, right, from what we talked about, right? If you are a player and you're going into college or you're going into high school, be coachable, right? You want to definitely be coachable. Listen to your coaches, because sometimes your coaches may see something in you that you don't see in yourself, right? And if you're willing and you're vulnerable enough to say, you know what, I'm going to try it and I'm going to do what you feel like is best, then it'll work out for you. It'll definitely work out for you in the end. And I always say success is not a destination. It's a mindset.
Yeah. Is that your encouragement?
Yeah, I always say that.
No, I appreciate that. And, we always like to end with an encouragement. And so, I just want to thank you, man.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Such a thorough conversation.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, I appreciate it. I really do. Like, man, this is amazing. Setup is amazing.
Thank you.
Podcast is amazing. And I'm praying for you guys to continue to grow.
Yeah. What is the name of your podcast? Again, I want to get.
So I have two.
Right.
It's called The Circle of M. My podcast is actually on the APN network right now. So if you type in APN in YouTube, that's where this season is being aired. But then I have another podcast. It's called The Mental Note.
The Mental Note.
And so that'll be posted every Wednesday at 2:00, and we're just bringing the mental side of sports and the different topics that are being talked about around the world.
Go over there. I know you were talking about Tua recently on there, like so many interesting things. When players get injured and what happens, the mental side of the game.
Yeah, which I don't think I've always said, like, I don't think he should go back. I think he should just stop playing and go focus on his family. That's me though.
Yeah, that's you.
You know what I mean?
So, well, again, I don't know when, from when we're recording this to when this goes live, it's gonna be real. Like, we'll see, how that turns out.
Well, he's playing today, I think.
He's playing. Yeah. So he's playing. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully all goes well for him. Certainly want all of our athletes who are out there. We know how much you guys risk by being out there for our entertainment, which of course, I know I enjoy. I know
firsthand with your pops.
Yeah. So definitely, hope everybody's able to walk off the field at the end of the day and be able to have longevity.
That's the main
as well, well beyond the time on the field, and that's certainly important. And probably have a whole nother conversation around player safety and the changes that happen in the league. And
that's like a whole day, 2-day conversation.
I've been blessed to be in some of those rooms with the NFLPA with my dad and stuff. And so, again, I've been blessed to really have some, occasionally have front row seat, quite honestly, to some of these conversations in the past. And so, again, definitely value, what you guys, give to go out on the field. I know you do it for your families, you do it for your teammates, and do it for the communities you represent. And so where you're from, college, all the way up to the pros. And so anyway, Man, thanks for being here, man. Thanks for sharing
No
sharing your
problem.
story.
It's amazing.
It's been a blessing,
Thank you.
man. And we always end. We didn't start with the Bible. I ran past it. I was so eager to get into this conversation because I knew it would be a good one. But I definitely wanted to make sure I end with the. We got the encouragement from Marcus, and we're ending in Psalms 30, 2-5, which reads, "Lord, my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me. Lord, you brought me up from Sheol. You spared me from among those going down to the pit. Sing to the Lord, you, his faithful ones, and praise his holy name. For his anger only lasts a moment, but his favor a lifetime. Weeping may stay overnight, but there is joy in the morning." And I know that resonates with your story, for the weeping that you've endured. And now you're in a season of joy as a husband, as a father, and as a leader in our community and an advocate for mental health. So Marcus, thank you. I hope everyone will take an opportunity to support, visit Circle of M, subscribe to his podcast, follow along on Instagram and Facebook, make a donation. And of course, we hope you'll make a donation to what we're doing here. Check out the description here at the Progress Podcast. You can make a donation. All the links for everything, for all, what Marcus is doing, what we're doing here, the Progress Podcast will be in the show notes. We hope you'll contribute so we can keep having amazing guests. Marcus is just our second guest. We have so many more exciting guests coming. You can purchase the book, Bath Time with Rye. And we're just going to leave it there. But thank you for being here on the Progress Podcast. Again, Marcus, thank you so much. And until next time, we couldn't love you if we didn't love you.
We should shine it up, but that's just how his timing was. And look at what we do. They cannot tell me nothing, baby, the way you walk, I love it. And if you take too long, I'm rushing. I come the way you are, just trust it. Then we gon' love forever, and we gon' ride this thing together. I got my mind on you whenever. I keep my eyes on you forever.